Purutia mai te tā uru o te rangi kia tīna, kia whena, kia toko te manawa ora. Tīna toko te manawa ora ki runga i a koutou. Tīna toko te manawa ki runga i a rātou. Tīna toko te manawa ora ki runga i a mātou i tēnei wā. Nā whānau, nā whanaunga me nā piringa karanga maha. Tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe, ko ia e rongo whakairi ake ki runga kia tīna, haumi e, hui e, tāe ki e. A kia ora mai anō tātou katoa e whakarongo mai ana, e titiro mai ana ki a mātou i tēnei wā. Tēnei te mihi atu mai i tēnei taha, ko mātou, ko te tūāpapa kura kāinga, me ngā kaimahi me ngā whānau o te matapihi e mihi atu nei ki a koutou e tāringa whakarongo mai ana. Hoi anō whānau, anei te whakāturanga tua ono o te aho tāhuhu. Nau mai, piki mai, whakarongo mai ki a mātou i tēnei wā. Kia ora tātou whānau. Welcome back to the 6th episode of the Te Aho Tāhuhu series, which focuses on the progressive home ownership. In this episode, we will be talking to team members from Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga, Christina Chase and Huriwai Paki, who will give insight into the range of funds available through Mahi and Whai Kāinga, Whai Oranga, and how these funds are able to be incorporated into projects. We have also invited recipients of these types of funding, namely Shirley Turner from Ngāti Hine Health Trust, tēnā koe Shirley. Just a little bit about this webinar series. The Progressive Home Ownership Fund is a $400 million investment by the government to help families, individuals and whānau into their own homes. The PHO funds aim to address housing affordability for 3 priority groups, including Māori, Pacific peoples and families with children. The PHO fund works by giving loans to providers that they have to repay back in 15 years. Some of those products that providers are using are arrangements such as shared ownership, rent to buy or leasehold. Hoi ona whānau. We've recorded 5 of these webinars and they are up on the Te Matapihi website. So kia ora tātou whānau. We're going to go straight into our first presenter today, Christina Chase from Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga. Tēnā koe, Christina, anei tō wā.
Tēnā rā tātou e te whānau, e uri tēnei no te rohi o Mōkai Pātia, ko Ngāti Whiti Kaupeka, ko Ngāti Tamakōpiri, ko Ngāi Te Ohuake, ko Ngāti Tūwhare Tōhoki ki ngā iwi, ko Christina Chase tōku ingoa, ko aho te kaiwhakahaere o te tima Mahi Partnerships Program e noho ana kei raro i te mana o Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga. So ngā mihi morena ki a koutou. I'm going to start with the Mahi Partnerships Program and our way of working and engagement before moving to the funding options that are available to whānau, and then a little bit more discussion about the new pūtea that is available through Whai Kāinga, Whai Oranga, at which stage I'll pass over to my hua Huriwai Paki. So the Mahi Partnerships Program is designed to support iwi and Māori entities who are wanting to move into housing developments. The idea is that we coordinate with all of those agencies that have a housing function to support iwi and Māori with their aspirations. So each partnership, each project that we have engaged with has differed quite considerably, and that's kei te pai. The main focus for us is ensuring that you get what you need at the end of the day, and that it's not about the Crown trying to move you into set boxes. So you'll see in the circle to the left, the main agencies that are involved in the partnerships program are Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga, which is HUD, Te Puni Kōkiri and Kāinga Ora. But in addition to that, we do have the Ministry of Social Development coming in because of the emergency housing aspect that they bring to the table. In addition to that, they also have support to provide skills and training opportunities or a pūtea where the entity may be looking to do a little bit more from the housing development than just a house per se. So, for example, to find opportunities to train their people to become the builders. So on the right, what you'll see then is a list of the housing products and services. So in the background, once we hear from you about what it is you're trying to do, we will talk further about what it is you're trying to achieve, the end purpose, so that we then know who is best to sit at the table alongside you. So it may be that you're looking at doing some kind of mixed housing tenure, in which case, if it was about public housing, we would ask Kāinga Ora to sit alongside. If you were also wanting to do a Papa Kāinga aspect and it was the whenua is whenua Māori, then maybe Te Puni Kōkiri needs to sit there alongside as well. So it's those kind of conversations that we're having in the background to get you the best possible, I'm going to use the word deal, but the best possible outcome, let's say. So I'm just focusing today on these three funds, as they are the funds that sit directly under Maihi. So the He Taupua Fund is about supporting iwi and Māori who are maybe at the start of their housing journey. So the idea is to help them and help you to increase your capability. So maybe it's that you're just needing someone to coordinate in the background, get your whānau together to understand whether or not they are ready to do home ownership or what further support they will need to get across the line with any future loans that may be required. Or it may be just to coordinate with council, to contact the council to understand what needs to be done in terms of your first steps of planning. It may be that you're looking to become a community housing provider. Now that the steps to get to that door, they can be quite complex. So again, having a dedicated resource in there to pull all of your policies and processes together is invaluable to you. So those are the types of things that we can do. It's not limited to just that, but just to give you some ideas about how you might be able to utilise that fund. And as you'll see, there's a limit per project of up to 500,000. This is also based on the level of need, the types of projects that we already have sitting on the pipeline as well. And we'll talk a little bit about the process further down once Huriwai has had his kōrero. Moving along to the He Taupai, that's to support you to pull together all the technical information. So you may need to get geotech reports done. In fact, you definitely will need to have geotech assessments done on the land to make sure that it is actually a viable option. You'll definitely need master planning to understand what you're putting on the land, your spatial planning, where you're placing all of the whare, and also moving towards your resource and building consents. Again, these are ideas. So the size and scale of the project also may determine our level of contribution, because if you are looking for quite a large scale project, then that will create a considerable drain on our pūtea. So it may be that our funding becomes contributory, but those are the kōrero we will be having with you along the way. The third funding, He Kuku ki te Kāinga, is to support the actual supply of new housing and infrastructure on the whenua. So the range of projects and our level of investment or contribution to those houses may differ dependent on what you're building on the land. So again, we look at affordable rentals, affordable home ownership. If you're going into the community housing space, then we need to then work out how that lines up against the what is called the Public Housing and Community Housing Management Act. So again, it's kōrero, kōrero, kōrero with you along the way. And I apologise, I'm not sure who's online, so we may have some experienced developers on there, Katy Pai, so just block me out. But if you are just starting out on the journey, then just bear with and work with us on this process. It's really important that you get yourself as organised as possible. So I've stolen this line from Te Puni Kōkiri, and because we're whānau, I think that's Katy Pai. So whānau, whenua and whare, that should be your absolute starting point. Understand the whānau that you are targeting for your housing development. Understand their needs and what is possible for them in their current situation. Then in addition to that, when moving to the whenua, ensure that you do actually have authority to build on the land. So often we think that we're good to go, and then suddenly there may be a trustee, a land trust comes in and says, actually, no, you can't build there. So dot your I's and cross your T's with all of that before then looking at the types of whare that you want to put on the land, what's going to be suitable, the type of infrastructure that you may need to put in under the ground, and also think about the costs. So then it's really important to weigh all of this up, because if the costs are going out the gate, then it's may not be affordable for you, and it may not be affordable for the Crown either. So if looking at the site, yes, it may be beautiful whenua, but if there's all kinds of contamination, if there's issues with the soil, if it's on a cliff top, then probably not the right site to be building on. So look at where else you may be able to build your whare. The next step, just realise that it takes time to do these developments. It's not just going to happen overnight. And it may be dependent on the size and scale and complexity of your development as well. So for some of these bigger developments, it can at times take up to 2 years just to get your planning underway before you even consider starting your build. The next point, we all want to employ our whānau. We all know what we need, but don't undervalue the need for technical support to guide you along the way. So yes, whilst we may have builders in the whānau, that's Katy Pai, but just because they're builders doesn't make them architects, it doesn't make them engineers, and it doesn't make them town planners. So you will need all of this expertise along the journey. There's no shortcuts around that, because you will get held up when it comes to consenting. And then just finally, the pūtea that's available through Maihi is contributory only. So you will need to be really across the final or total development costs and understand that our funding would be contributory. So you'll have to have some finances sitting behind you.
I've got I guess I've got a couple of questions for you, Christina, and I guess all the whānau out there are probably wanting to know a few things, and so one of the questions I imagine would sooner or later come up would, who can the whānau talk to about their own proposals, and if they've got their own ideas around this and they want to put something together?
Sure. I think the first step, if you're looking at a small scale papakainga, so we're talking about under 15 houses. So in the first instance, contact your local Te Puni Kōkiri office because they are focused on those papakainga sites. And because of the way we are now operating in the whaikainga whaioranga space, we would naturally pass over to them anyway. In addition to that, I would also suggest that you make contact really quickly. Just because of our sheer size and the sheer volume of requests coming through, we're asking all new inquirers to submit an EOI or just to submit your partai there, and then we will come back to you in due course and as quickly as possible.
Kia ora, Christina. Another question, I guess, everyone's asking. I'm going to answer this question. How do you apply for the He Taupua and He Taupai? And when is the funding available?
Come on. For He Taupai and He Taupua, we are setting up a round of funding that will happen before Christmas. We've been holding on to some applications. So one before Christmas, one in February, and then every 6 weeks after that. We will just have to keep advising about the pūtea to ensure that people aren't sending things through and we haven't run out, because we know there's a lot of demand out there. Communications will be going up shortly on both our Whaikainga Whaioranga, Te Tuapapakura Kainga websites. If you haven't made contact with us already, then I strongly encourage you to submit an EOI so that we have you registered. For those rōpū that we have already been working with and are aware, Jen, Katie Pai, we've got your details.
And just, I guess, finally, Christina, you did talk about your whare whenua and whānau tips. What are some other tips you might have for whānau out there who might want to apply for some of those pots of funding?
Talk to others who have been down this path, get their learnings along the way, engage early with your whānau, with any agencies as to your aspirations. We have a no wrong door approach as well. So you could contact Kāinga Ora if you're looking at a public housing space. You can go directly to Te Puni Kōkiri, or again, come to us via that Whaikainga Whaioranga website email address. And in addition to that, I just absolutely emphasize those key takeaways. Get the technical support in as soon as possible to help you with your planning.
Kia ora, Christina.
Ka whai. Kia ora tātou, ko hiruai paki I tōku ingoa, hiuri anō no ngai tūhoi me Ngāti Awa hoki. So, linking into what Christina spoke about earlier with the through Maihi funding, is that there's also Whaikainga Whaioranga. It is a new investment fund that's come about through Budget 21, and it is worth $730 million and focus, of course, on Māori housing, and includes $350 million from the Māori Infrastructure Fund, and then $30 million for investment into sector capability, which links into what Christina spoke about earlier through He Taupua and He Taupai. And similarly to what she said, Whaikainga Whaioranga pulls together the current efforts that TPK and HUD have been already working on through their pipelines to ensure that whānau have warm, dry, safe homes. The objectives of the Whaikainga Whaioranga, there are three. Firstly, like I said, it is to expand at pace the current efforts that's been occurring around Māori-led housing delivery. The second part of it is improving and expanding the amount of repairs that's been happening or that are needed to occur as well for Māori and whānau out there. And thirdly is to also enable and test new delivery models that allow for sustainable Māori-led delivery. The outputs that from the Whaikainga Whaioranga to deliver 1,000 new supply homes repairs to 700 homes, 2,700 infrastructure ready sites, and said before, the $30 million capability investment. The target areas for initial investment have been based on whether or not there's concentrations of whenua Māori, the need for high housing deprivation, how ready delivery partners are to actually scale and get the homes on the ground. And then also, of course, making sure that there is alignment to HUD's two core areas around place-based approaches and Maihi, as well as other government investment. So with that in mind, the kind of target areas for initial investments are Te Tai Tokerau, Tai Rāwhiti, Here Taunga, and the Bay of Plenty and Taranaki. And Christina alluded to it earlier through the Hupupu Ki Te Kāinga Fund, but what you can see, and I'll explain it as well, is the Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga investment model, but effectively based on your housing tenure type and whether or not you want to do community affordable housing or market affordable housing rentals, all that kind of thing. You pick the type of housing tenure that you are aiming for, and obviously that's what Christina said about coming in to have that chat early on and really getting your planning and what your vision is set. And through that, based on the type of model that you want to deliver will also, and what type of land you're going to build your whare on, will also depend on the extent to which Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga can contribute towards that goal. So if you are looking at just infrastructure sites only, if you are on whenua Māori, then we can do 100% grant. But if you're looking at an infrastructure site only on general title, then it depends, like I said, on the housing tenure type that you're looking to do. And then if you're actually looking to do the supply side, then yes, again, depending on the type of tenure you want, will depend on the extent to which grant funding can be provided. That's just, the model is at the moment. If you do want to go outside of that scope, well, I mean, we do obviously encourage you to come have a chat with us as well, so that we can see what is available for you as well, so that it's not just kind of this one model for you that's out there. And since what Christina said, if you do have any questions about Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga more generally, then the email address for everyone would be wkwo@hud.govt.nz.
Tēnā koe Huriwai Paki and Christina Chase. Huriwai, just a quick question before we move on to Shirley. A question from Selena Rika. So do these funds act independent of each other? And she's talking about Maihi and Whai Kāinga and Whai Oranga. So
where Maihi had little funds that were going out and, TPK was doing it, we were still connecting and we were still coordinating. What Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga is aimed to do is to look at ways to coordinate all of that together and then scale it up in certain aspects. Yeah. So they are talking to each other. Yes.
Ka pai. Thank you for that, Huriwai Paki. Nau mai e te wahine no Ngāpuhi. Shirley Turner, you're working for Ngāti Hine Health there. Ānei tō wā, tēnā koe.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Alvin Florence Joyce Tukawhaia, ko Ngāpuhi tōna iwi, ko Ruirui Hune Tukupapa, ko Tuwhara Tō tōna iwi, ko Dawson Davis Tukupapa Tuarua, ko Ngāti Manu Tukuhapu, ko Shirley Turner Tuku Ingoa. Good morning, everybody. I joined the Ngāti Hine Trust in April 2021. I was brought on board as a project manager to progress their housing initiatives. I've come from working for the Whangarei District Council for 18 years, and I've seen firsthand my own whānau and their struggles to find a home with this critical housing shortage. And it was my desire to use those skills to join an organisation whose core business is to help and support whānau and contribute to making a difference. So I'm going to take you through our project. This project signifies an immense undertaking for Ngāti Hine Health Trust. It signifies their commitment to help address the critical housing shortage in Te Tai Tokerau. The development scope has focused on a holistic approach to provide the community that will not only uplift but empower whānau within it, but also community as a whole and be reflective of Te Ao Māori and create a sense of place with our Ngāti Hine Health Trust's wraparound services that we currently do, enveloping the development, and represents a commitment to the community. We don't want this being seen as just another housing development, and it's just the desire out there to really make a difference has been instrumental in making sure this development progresses. So I'm just going to take you through what our rendering of what our development is looking like. So this is where we're at, and we currently have this concept submitted to council. Engagement with the community. One of the key questions we've been asked is why we are putting two-storey buildings. Because if anyone knows Mōrewa, there are only single-storied homes. We've done this because really in that development and this land we have, our desire was to house as many whānau as we can. But we have ensured that each of these homes, two-storied homes, have a bedroom and a bathroom on the ground floor, and that will allow kaumātua and queer the ability to just live on the ground floor. We've put a lot of time and effort into minimising helping this development minimise current issues that Mōrewa experience, mainly flooding and low water pressure. This development has really, we've tried to create a wide open spaces for whānau, boardwalks that really promote the community to come together. Obviously, we've got the Mōrewa Primary School that are on the key side of the development. We want to put raised gardens, a community hall to allow our services to continue, because we are aware that some of the people that we will be putting in here, you know, it's not just about providing a home, it's lifting their overall well-being. Instrumental is just creating an environmental sustainability development. So the funding support that when I came on board in April 2021, the Ngāti Hine Health Trust had applied for the Taupua funding. This allowed the trust to bring me on board to progress the housing initiative. And it was instrumental to us in the early stages of the project, really bringing in the procurement of consultants and experts and all that experience that we needed. I mean, because I've never built a house. So that was really instrumental in us progressing. So we've been doing the initial investigation and feasibility of the Ranfurly Street Mōrewa social housing development over the last 11 months. As Christina mentioned, you know, it's not a fast process. There's lots of learnings, and it's, as she mentioned, you know, the professional expertise is what we need up front in order to, especially to get where we've gotten. So our submission is currently in with council. And we are in the final stages of pulling our submission together to get the funding through to whai kāinga whai ora. So our experience, I mean, like I mentioned, the initial funding is instrumental to bringing in that expertise you need, specialist engagement, because you really only know what you know, and that guidance really helps you progress how you need to. The Mahi team were great. And it's important that you just ask questions even if they don't seem very important, or if you really don't know whether they are the questions you need to ask. I can't stress that enough, because it really, it's the difference between the project staying still and you not being able to prepare as you move towards pulling your funding application together. And for me, it's like, I guess for me, coming into this new, I probably would have appreciated some kind of guideline or flowchart, just to really, because I wasn't sure where I was in the process. So I did a lot of research on the website, but unless you're really in the housing know and all that jargon, I think you can get a bit lost. And yeah, I just, well worth your while to really contact other people who are going through the process. It will save you a lot of unknowns. And I guess for me, because we do have a lot of people a lot of whānau, a lot of organisations who want to do this, I do feel, we have to work more together, because it's not really about just the one development. If we're really out there to house our whānau and, put them in homes, we need to work as a team. I definitely feel that. Over the last 10 months and conversations that I have, I think it's important to really be mindful, whatever process you're going through or discussions you're having, is to really put at the forefront what the goal is. At the end of the day, we want to put people in homes, whānau that aren't living in homes, that are in tents or cars. And for me, that's always been in the forefront, and you just have to keep pushing, keep pushing through what you need to do. By no means is it easy, but doable, and certainly worth it, and life-changing for whānau. So for whānau, one of the key takeaways would be really make the most of who's been through the process, have those conversations that can save you lots of time and really allow you to progress forward a lot faster. Like I said in the previous slide, this mahi requires effort, but the rewards are life-changing. And for Mahi, I guess for me, coming in with no knowledge of housing and the housing process, the funding, I think it would be good if we kind of had a high level flowchart or guidance and with examples, because this is your bread and butter, what you're talking about, but for a person who just wants to get a home for their whānau or build homes, and it's not necessarily initial stages people who are in the know, although you definitely need that technical expertise. But if we want to be prepared ahead of this process, it would be good to kind of have examples that of what's expected, what we need to pull together. And those are my contact details. I mean, whānau out there, if you want some to go into detail of where we're at and the things that we have experienced, give me a call, send me an email. Be awesome. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe, Shirley. That was Shirley Turner from Ngāti Hine Health. Shirley, I guess with your contact details up there, and if we could just leave them up a little bit longer, would you be happy to share your insights with others if they wanted to talk to you further?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yep.
Shirley, that was really like, what you're trying to achieve there in Moerewa. Tell me, or could you tell us, the whānau, everyone listening, what motivated you through all that?
I had a daughter who really struggled with the system, and she was in emergency housing. She was just moved from motel to motel, and really, had no advocate to guide her through the system. And for me, it's like, if I go through that, just imagine what other people go through. So it was a big change and decision for me to really want to use my skills to help whoever I could, through a process, get them into homes, because it's a basic need for people, and they should have that. So that's definitely a key motivator for me to, do what I have to do. And with Ngāti Ene Trust, who do the whole wraparound services, I'm privileged to be in this position, privileged to be with an organisation that does its best out there for people who need it. So, yeah, it's an honour to be working on this project and where I'm at.
Tēnā koe, Shirley, and it's certainly our honour to have you present today and listen to your kōrero today. All right, whānau, well, we're going to go to some of the questions now. We're straight into the Q&A session, but I'll just want to probably go through some of the ones that have been answered for those of you that might have missed that. We had a question by Suzanne Stevens. Are you able to share some of the He Taupua application purposes? That was replied to by Christina, who said, ultimately, the funding is to support projects that will result in increased housing supply. The scope for this fund includes, but is not limited to, support to develop a housing strategy, business cases, project management, coordination and facilitation, and also preparation for community housing approval status. Another question by Marcel and Michelle Wainohu. Kia ora koutou katoa. Through the Maihi Partnership Program, are we able to partner with other funding options or other partners? Christina replied back, yes, absolutely. For example, Samaropu successfully accessed funding through the PGF Shovel Ready last year for infrastructure. Others have accessed philanthropic funding as well. So that's just to let you know out there that yes, you can. We will be putting up the email addresses for everyone after this, and the presentations will be made available on the Te Matapahi and the HUD websites. What else do we have? Another question was, kia ora, are there any other funds or one-off funds for iwi and Māori groups, organisations who have very little internal capability and capacity and time applying for funding that will help them apply for these funds? Okay, that question was answered by Christina, who she recommended as well through her presentation that you contact your local TPK office, Te Puni Kōkiri office, to talk through your application process. Carol Manukau asked the question of Shirley, have you developed that flowchart you were wishing for? And your answer was no, but happy to make that happen, and probably happy for you to help out with her too, Carol. Kia ora. Oh, yes, a good question here from Donna Robinson. Hi, Shirley. So I imagine this question will be asked by a few providers out there. Did you partner with anyone like Habitat for Humanity? I guess in the case that Shirley was talking about, the answer was no, but that does not rule out that that could be a possibility in the future. Okay, we've got a question for the panel. We've only got a couple of questions here, so this might be a short session. And Christina's answering that. I'll let her answer that, but here's a question for Shirley from Leah Warbrick. Kia ora, Shirley, you have brought up some real whānau ground stuff. Can our government providers provide online workshops providing those examples and learning the requirements for educating us around housing? The websites show the outcomes of lots of the completed projects. Are there any videos on the actual processes and challenges? A very good question there. Well, let's start with you, Shirley, and maybe if Christina and Puriwai, if you can add to that, that will be fine too.
I don't see why not. In terms of, I haven't actually done any myself, but yeah, I really think, this is a big kaupapa. So I really think we need to provide as much as we can to make it successful for everyone.
Realistically, we don't have the numbers within Te Tuapapa Kura Kāinga to be able to manage that. But what I would say as an alternative is that there are a range of Papa Kāinga toolkits immediately available to you. You can just go online and look that up. You could also go on, I think Te Puni Kōkiri also advertise that over their website, which will guide you through the steps that need to be taken when undertaking your development. I'm also aware that Te Puni Kōkiri run their sorted kāinga order workshops to help you and those whānau to prepare for smaller developments as well. However, if you are looking at larger scale developments, then utilise this pūtea within He Taupai to access the right professional and technical skills, because you're going to need it to ensure that all of your feasibilities and all of your development economics weigh up for you at the end of the day. Without that, then you're going to become unstuck. So many of time we've seen groups fall over because they've missed some really valuable steps and information. So utilise the pūtea that's available to do this for you.
Kia ora, Christina. Here's another question. Oh, this one's for you, Christina. It's from Selena Rika. Christina, I was turned away from TPK because my development was too large. TPK staff knowledgeable about what and how these funds could be administered? Okay.
Put your application through put an EOI through to us, through the Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga email space, and we'll look at that and come back to you.
Got it. And you're typing an answer for this. So I'm thinking it's for you, Christina, but can you be granted all of those from those three funding pots? Is that available to everyone to be able to be in each of them, or all of them at the same time?
Absolutely, you can access all of those, but perhaps not simultaneously. If you're looking to go straight to the supply end, then our expectation is that you have all the plans in place. So you've ticked all the boxes. You know how much it's going to cost. You know any risks associated with it. You have all of the you've done all the assessments of the land, you've done all your demand analysis and statistics, and you're able to present those to us immediately. If you can't, then we step you back to, or direct you to, either He Taupua first to get your immediate analysis in place, or He Taupua if you're looking to get the plans, technical plans.
Kia ora, Christina. This one's probably most likely for those of us working at HUD. It's from Lucy Tukua. Kia ora. I attended the HUD place-based housing Zoom earlier. I found it interesting the way in which the larger HUD system has been gearing itself. Is there an alignment with that and this mahi, i.e. as a cohesive way of working? And why are there clashes in timing to host both these at the same time? Some of us are interested in the way in which the whole of systems work. There was a lot of information about how iwi are working within these place-based projects.
Yes,
Christina.
Kia ora, Christina again. Yes, we absolutely take a place-based and mahi approach to all of that mahi. So place-based is really about trying to understand what is the situation for that's happening within a particular rohe. So what housing is already in there? What are the challenges to building? Who are the stakeholders? What is the appetite for building in the rohe? And then looking at for kāinga ora, where and what are they building? For iwi and Māori who are already on the journey, where and when again are they building? And then how, for us in the mahi space, how can our pūtea help to support them with their developments? So again, I just go back to anything we're doing in the mahi space is to support housing for whānau Māori.
Kia ora, Christina.
And I think just to add on to what Christina said and looking at where Lucy was talking about kind of that systems view, is that part of at a public sector level through the Public Service Act 2020, a lot of the CEOs now across government are now forming these kind of interdepartmental executive boards to ensure kind of all of government view over what's happening. That sits alongside kind of your more informal meetings that CEs at the government have. So you'll have like a housing CEs meeting, and then also too that will kind of feed into what's happening across public sector reforms that kind of look at more, place-based approaches. Okay.
Well, this is from Carol Manuko, who says, not a question, Shirley. You have a trained kāinga ora sorted facilitator hired as kaimahi in the Ngāti Hine team. She has a flowchart and a course and is currently working in sustaining tenancies. So that might help you out there, Shirley. Thank you, Carol. I just want to once again thank our panelists today from Te Tuapapakura Kāinga, Christina Chase, manager of the Mahi Partnerships team, Huri Waipaki, who's working in the Whai Kāinga Whai Oranga space, and to our wahine Purotu, kei te raki, kei te nota, Shirley Turner, working with Ngāti Hine Health. Thank you for your presentation today. And to all our presenters, mai tēnei taha ki a koutou, koutou mā te whānau e whakarongo mai ana, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou. Wishing you guys all a great day today on behalf of Te Matapahi and HUD, Te Tuapapakura Kāinga. We thank you for tuning in today, and we hope that you can all come back in a fortnight's time to listen to the next webinar series. So hoi anō tātou, mai tēnei taha ki a koutou, huri noa te motu, a tēnā koutou, a kia ora mai tātou katoa. Ka kite whānau.